Hi everyone, I am Shishir Mishra and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Strategy Ninja. Today with me I have Tania Peitzker, and she is one of the top 1% of tech entrepreneurs and executives globally as per Crunchbase. So it's a great opportunity as we talk about the uses and risks of business chatbot. Welcome Tania, it's a pleasure to have you on my channel.
Thank you so much, Shishir.
Before we begin, a short intro about myself. I am Shishir Mishra. I am an author, business consultant, and a digital marketer. I help businesses grow through digital platforms and through creating different strategies to help their business reach out to different target audiences. Before we begin, I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, you will find insights from experts such as Tania from different backgrounds and people from different backgrounds and different areas of expertise. So to begin with a little intro about Dr. Tania Peitzker. She is Silicon as one of the top 1% tech entrepreneurs and executive rated by Crunchbase. I suppose you must be knowing very well about the Crunchbase, and it's a and it's among the among she's the top 1% among 1 million individuals and companies. That's a that's a great accomplishment, and then she's a company director of AI BAAS, that is Bots as Service, which is headquartered in Munich. And she's an investor in artificial intelligence that helps chatbots to be like more human like in terms of their conversations. So, Tanya, I would like to know more about how did you make it to the top 1% of the tech entrepreneurs? What all what have your journey been so far?
Oh, thank you, Shishir. Well, I was looking at your book earlier today, and I think you've captured a lot of the golden rules and principles of digital marketing. And I guess that's how I ended up in Crunchbase without actually controlling that, because CB, as they call themselves, they do it on their own with algorithms and analysts, so you can't directly influence it as such. So they put me in their database and ranking on their own accord, but it was a result of digital marketing. So it's evidence of what you are arguing in your book, that it really is worthwhile, and particularly all the small steps that lead up to a bigger outcome, and which is what we mean when we say strategy, don't we?
Yes, exactly. So,
So
what what made you interested in chatbots? Picking up like the chatbots as one of your focus areas.
yes, I fell into it really. I was involved in investor relations. I was living in Berlin. I lived in Berlin for nearly 20 years. I'm a German citizen, even though you can hear I grew up in Australia. So I do have familiarity with India through having lived in an APAC country, playing cricket against you guys. So I ended up in Berlin and doing investor pitches for other startups. And that's how I met the Lee brothers. And this was in 2008, just before the last big depression, financial crisis, global recession. And they had created these little chatbots before there were really chatbots out there. And they were working on a website where these little bots were going around populating the site, talking to humans to recruit them to join this extreme sports website. And I just thought it was a cool idea. For me, it was logical, it made sense. And, you know, if you ask an investor or tech executive, most people will say, if you can explain your USP or innovation in simple layman's terms and it makes sense, there's a logic to it, there's a need for it, and you can show that there's a need, then it's normally going to be a profitable business. So we had this extreme sports website, that was our starting point. And then I sort of fell into this whole chatbot decade, if you like. Unfortunately, there was a big hype cycle. Gartner, the the business analyst firm also mapped this out. And in that decade, from 2008 up until now, you've seen the highs and lows of, there were predictions that it was going to be $1 trillion market. I talk about this in my book, by the way, it's all in depth there. I look at particular case studies of how there was this big march of chatbots in about 2016, where Facebook invested heavily in them, and Skype, there were Skype bots, there were thousands of Skype bots there were thousands of Messenger bots. And then just about a year ago, Facebook, Zuckerberg personally shut down the bot platform. Microsoft still has its bot network going, and there are chatbots coming out, but this is a very messy landscape, and that's why the Business Expert Press editors approached me through their scouts here in England, where I live near London, to write a book, because a company exec sitting there thinking, oh, I've heard about these chatbots, do we need them, what do they do? It would be very confusing for someone who hasn't been involved in this industry over the past 10 years.
Okay, so let me dive into your book, The Uses and Risk of Business Chatbots, Guidelines for Purchasers in the Public and Private Sectors. So the interesting thing is, like, I have seen a lot of usage of chatbots in businesses. Like their websites have chatbots implemented on them, which is helping in like sales or customer support in certain areas. How does like public sector utilize these chatbots? Can you give me one example of it?
Sure. In chapter 1 of my book, I give an example of the UK government, the Department of Workplace and Pensions, DWP. And in the past 24 months, this is pre-pandemic, they launched chatbots to quite a detailed extent, where the bot was meant to help your average person applying for a pension or trying to get their welfare benefits. And it was a type of processing bot about frequently asked questions. So you plug in your identity number, your name, your needs, and the bot is processing you ahead of time. So a lot of critics of chatbots say, oh, that's just like when you call on a phone line and it's very frustrating, and then you get this menu tree of, well, what are you calling us today about? It's similar, and that's where you've got the bad performing bots or the frustrating experiences. But the DWP managed to get some fairly high functioning chatbots out there. And according to the government department, they were able to clear a backlog of inquiries, of applications, of requests for their people's quite urgently wanting their welfare payments and pension money. So in this instance, it was arguably a big success story, although the DWP government department came in for a lot of bad media for trying to replace human staff with robots. So the irony is that when we actually get an example or a case study of a high performing, good experience with a chatbot where it's actually leading to increased productivity and supporting human staff, not detracting from their work and also not taking jobs away, it still gets bad press. So we've really got to move past this place where there's this confusion about what a good bot is and what it should do, and then when it actually does a good job, that it gets recognized for that, and that it's actually enhancing your average citizen's experience and helping them along with their day-to-day business.
So it has like this coronavirus pandemic and that the lockdown that ensued has like what is the trend right now in terms of the usage of chatbots? Are you seeing a more the use is increasing in the businesses? What is like the current scenario?
Well, there seems to be a resurgence. They're certainly not going away, and we need to define the different types of bots we're talking about. So there's the 2D basic chatbots that, like you said, you see on a website to answer frequently answered questions. So you might have encountered them when you are on the website of a bank, your bank, or insurance company, or very often telecommunications when want to know about your phone contract, or if you subscribe to a website hosting service, they often use these chatbots on the front end, as we say, direct with the customer, to sort of speed up the whole communication process. So it is like a frequently asked question, or they could just use a menu function and you work your way through a form, but the chatbot's meant to add some personality to that exchange. So the bot built into the website is adding to the experience of the consumer. Now with Corona, we're all sitting at home, obviously under lockdown, in fear of getting COVID. So there's more and more, there's just been an extreme push to everyone being online. So you don't really have a choice anymore. You have to go online. And clearly there's a backlog there, and in processing customer inquiries. And there is definitely an upsurge. I'd like to see some of the data coming out now of how, I'm sure we will, because I'm being asked to do these interviews more and more this year. And there's more summits happening again on chatbots and voice assistants. So with the other category I was going to talk about is voice assistants. That's taking it to a new level now as well with COVID and the pandemic. Rather than just your usual chatbot experience of tapping in, texting, literally texting a bot about what you need to know and what it can do for you and sort out the information requests. SAP's got some great ones in that category called RPAs, robotic process automation, SAP bots. Oracle's got some good RPA type bots. We've also got, on the other hand, coming out, which everyone's familiar with, is Amazon Alexa and Google Home and Google Assistant and IBM Watson. They're moving from the home environment, so you're using them on your devices at home if you've got them, and into the B2B to C space. And that's my experience, and my company pivoted from being a 2D chatbot company into this 3D, what we call a 3D voice assistant. And we see a lot more potential and uptake there. We have our first mover, for example, in a pandemic situation and lockdown, helping a car showroom where they're on skeleton staff. They can't send in as many staff because of lockdown measures, but they have to keep open for cars to come in to be repaired. So we've got a 3D holographic assistant standing there doing infotainment and supporting the skeleton staff by being an extra staff member. And that's going really well under lockdown. And we added to that by having motion detection, so you don't have to touch a screen as you used to do with out-of-home advertising or information services. You used to have to touch a screen, which we think is a big no-no from now on, that you cannot in public spaces have touch screens that are spreading viruses. So we anticipate, and we're already seeing that with our own orders coming in, that people want an interface that's more advanced than a touch screen, that you would then text to the chatbot on the other end, but you're using voice to communicate in a public space. So just imagine Amazon Alexa outside in the public space, and that's where we are right now. And we're pioneering that, and we're waiting for business to take that up more and more.
So that's really interesting to know that voice-based 3D holographic chatbots are already like being used at the moment. So I would like to know, how is artificial intelligence progressing in terms of the chatbots? At present, what is the most advanced version of AI-based voice chatbot?
Right. Well, AI is often understood to be everything and anything from robots that can move around, like the famous Pepper robots that you see in Japan. They're very popular in Japan. That was originally a French invention that they sold to the Japanese. And so those robots are domestic companions that require a level of AI to build a relationship with humans. And obviously voice is built into those as well. So what we're doing isn't entirely new, but it's an extension of that, moving into really this new space of infotainment with something that's less robotic, because a lot of market research has shown that people don't really like relating to robots. It's a bit like the uncanny valley, that when you've got those androids that are meant to try and look like a human, but they don't. And you can see, like, often these super, in computer games and gaming, you've got these really impressive type of humanoid avatars that you can't, they're trying to pretend that you couldn't tell, like there's a musician, there's a rock star out there, and there's a film clip with these humanoid avatars, and you're not quite sure if is it, are you watching a human or is it actually well, an avatar. So that type of graphic imagery and UX design, it's all computer aided design with AI, creating that illusion and that effect. But also now we're moving into the space of when it looks humanoid, it's going to have a more what we call conversational AI. So this is another niche. I mean, it's different to when you've got image recognition, but you know, Google Maps is using a different type of AI, being smart, trying to figure out where you are, and GPS and IoT, where you've got your vacuum cleaners being smart and your lawnmowers running around using their own smart devices. That's another form of AI, and their smart fridges. So Internet of Things, the IoT, is actually talking about using all these different versions of AI and uses of types of AI, whether it's smart homes with security of how you don't need a key anymore, you need a pass or remote control that from your car, which is smart, can open your front door to your home. Now we're seeing this IoT development in lots of, you might imagine it as layers of artificial intelligence. So it's not all the same thing when you say AI. You might, I think moving forward, we need to be more precise and say AI empowered or AI enabled. What you often see is AI driven. And getting back to our little niche with conversational AI, we've got this algorithm which has been developed over decades and decades, whether it's IBM or Google or Nuance Communications. Ray Kurzweil is a leader in this field, called NLP, natural language processing. Now that layer of AI that's being added to it is making the natural language dialogue better, and it requires AI to do that. So similar to image recognition in medicine, where they need AI to make a more accurate diagnosis of x-rays, we're using a type of AI as a layer to make the natural language, identifying the machine, trying to figure out what I'm saying to it, and when I answer it, it's making it smarter with a type of enhancement of that particular algorithm. So AI isn't one consolidated, unified thing or program. It's actually lots and lots of different versions, whether it's DeepMind, Google DeepMind, trying to figure out how to play chess or then Go and get smarter from when it started with Jeopardy, you know, with Watson anyway. And all these different sort of game playing applications, virtual realities getting enabled by AI. So yeah, this is not going to go away. It's actually going to improve our lives. And obviously the things that succeed will be whether you and I and millions of other people enjoy using it. So if we don't like talking to the dashboard in our car, I think Tesla will give up on that. But just so you know, Tesla, Porsche, Mercedes, all the big leading car companies are using voice assistants in their dashboards, and even Tesla and Porsche have holographic assistants with voice enabled voice on their car dashboards, and these are the e-cars and the new cars of the future. So clearly their market research corresponds to what my little company has established, that people want to talk with, whether it's a device, what we call a cognitive interface, whether it's your car dashboard, you'll be talking to your fridge in future to double check, did it get your shopping list right? And as you might personally know, I feel personally, I hate tapping away on a screen. It's just annoying, you know, the ease of use. And yeah, this type of program will get more and more intelligent to also understand in different languages. Like our algorithm understands Hindi fluently, and Japanese, and a bunch of other languages that we've tested in. And that is where it's going to go: multilingual, conversational commerce, and interfaces that make the interaction with a machine, whether it's a lawnmower, a fridge, a car, or your screen you're sitting in front of all day, will just make it easier to use.
So I totally agree that in terms of the search, like right now we are typing in our search on Google, and the future is moving towards like voice-based search, and we are also optimizing like the different websites and different things are now optimized for voice-based search. So there, I think it has a huge potential, and voice-based chatbots, including holographic chatbots. Do you feel that they may also help to solve some of the social problems that we are facing, such as like they can be implemented in situations to help countering the social challenges?
Yes, I wrote about that in my book actually, that it could be an upside because there's enough psychological research out there now to show that smartphones do often lead to addiction, whether it's severe addiction where these kids just can't put down their devices and watching too much Netflix or whatever it is on their phones, to people like everyday normal people checking their phones. I can't remember the figure, but it's, a lot of times per hour, which can't be good for you if you're walking around and constantly thinking about what's going on your social media page and you have to reach for your device to figure it out. So I've already seen some research coming out of the States where they've done some tests, in public spaces on a train, where instead of getting people to just sit there enclosed in their bubble with their smartphone, trying to get them to talk to each other, and the psychological benefits of going back to old school, let's just talk to each other. And the outcome was they found that a voice assistant on the device helped with that, to change the habit to, rather than just being enclosed in your own space, that you're talking at least to an avatar and getting back into the habit of talking to somebody and being communicative. And learning how to express yourself. So this is, I think, another plus to, rather than just being too much dependent on our devices. I've even taken it further. I've trademarked an idea called a digital phone booth, and I've talked to some investors in Europe about it, and they're actually super keen to follow this up with me this year. Also coming out of lockdown, that in a public space like a mall or a street, or outside a cinema when they open again, that we have a digital phone booth that you can just be in an audio spotlight and go and talk to the avatar, to say, here's my ID code, tell me, do I have any messages, do I need to call anyone, who, and you, like the old-fashioned phone booth, but you're not having to carry around your phone. You can just sort of check in. Mm-hmm. And again, it's giving you a rehabitualized way of engaging with the machine interface, which is actually more effective, and you have a higher quality of life. Like everybody knows, when they do a digital detox, you feel better, and that that might just be I'm starting to put that idea out there because we've got the tech to back it up. And you'll see this client testimonial video we've just published on our website at AI Bots as a Service in Germany with the car showroom I was telling you about, how we're scaling up now into different parts of the town in outdoor spaces, so that not only tourists, when they come back, but also the residents can just use it as a information source. Oh, tell me, what's the latest COVID update? What's the warning level, or is it going to rain tomorrow? You can just sort of check in with the hologram that's stationed around parts of the town, rather than, oh, I can't leave home without my device, and then just being attached to it, and you're no longer experiencing the external world. And this has gone beyond concepts stage. And the first video testimonial we just released last week is a 10-minute video, but it completely verifies that, because we've had this hologram running bilingually, English, German, for 10 weeks now, and the uptake is there. So we've got good old traction, as people say.
So I would like to check that video out on your website. So coming to a very like you talked about this digital phone booth. So talking about there is a very interesting application of voice-based chatbots for tourists. Like if you're moving around in a country where you are not known of the local language, so you can use these chatbots to translate the language for you. So have you is there any such model at present, commercially available model out there?
Yep, what we've just launched at the end of last year under lockdown conditions on Lake Constance was exactly for that purpose. But rather than go for apps, we didn't want to be an app-based application. We wanted to demonstrate this concept that a tourist arriving, if you only speak Hindi and Japanese and your English is not that great, you land at Lake Constance, they speak German, you know, but not everyone's going to, you know, if you're non-native speakers of English, often you're not going to get the information. And also until you find the person to ask, and under lockdown when there's just fewer people wandering around. So we were looking at this case study where, or I should say use case, where the holograms is there, multilingually can say from Hindi to English or Japanese, yes, the ferry's going and you should really see Meersburg because that's where this castle is. And then you can say in your language, but where can I eat fish? I heard you can eat fish on Lake Constance. And, you know, most tourists, you're only there for a couple of days, so you want to maximize it. And you can have all your tour, you know, your books and online guidance, but it's different if you want real-time information, especially we've hooked up our hologram to the timetables, so it's real-time, you know, public transport, ferry information, things that you know when you land in another country, even in your own city or town, it's often hard to find the right app and the apps aren't up to date with real-time public transport information. And if you've got your own vehicle, where do you park? Or, you know, in Europe especially, they're pushing into e-cars. So where do you go charge your e-car, whether it's a rental or whether you live there, or car sharing, you know, trying to get that, that information at point of need and point of sale. So yeah, our use case is going really well at the moment because tourism completely fell away last year. We've actually, in that video testimonial, you'll hear the client saying, and it's a 200 strong client, it's an association of markets, it's called the Marketing Association of Engen. So they're independent retailers, including everything from pharmacies to supermarkets to, you know, well, the car dealerships to the, you know, delis and bakers. So shops that were allowed to stay open under lockdown and have the footfall. But because it's limited with staff, they actually needed our voice assistant more than ever at point of sale. Because as I said, we're looking at long-term usage. Smartphones will probably, as a product, disappear because they're not a sustainable product. They're using up too much of the Earth's resources, right? And even though the telecom companies and the phone companies would love us to keep replacing perfectly good phones every 2 years for, you know, marketing purposes, the Earth's resources can't keep up. So we're looking long term at predicting, you know, not to build a business based on smartphone use because of social, psychological, and environmental reasons. And that's working because people actually love the infotainment of going while they're waiting for their car to be repaired, while they're standing in a queue at the pharmacy. That's dead time. That's like, you know, all the time we're all lost standing in queues at this last year. You know, that's the other aspect.
Yes. So I think like the smart cities of the future would have more of these holographic conversational bots implemented, because I see a lot of applications where it can really be very useful not only for the tourists but for the people natives of the place. So there I see a lot of interesting applications. Coming to that, like you are like I have read about your profile, and you are also into theater, and you have written and directed plays as well. So can you tell more about like how does it matches up like being a tech entrepreneur and being in theater?
Well, creativity, I guess, is what they all say we should have in the business world now. It's meant to be a skill set. And ironically, I come from, well, humanities is also now being accepted. I guess for a long time, anyone who studied humanities was shunned by the business world because we weren't considered to be much use. But critical thinking skills, creative thinking, these are things now you do in at enterprise workshops, you know. And so they can't just sort of silo off who, you know, this type of person, that type of person. I was involved in playwriting or directing and theatre production when I was a university student, where, you know, in the good old days on campus where you could have that student experience and get involved in different clubs. I really feel sorry, by the way, for students now who have to, go through uni online. It really is tragic. So this was where I got into theatre, was part of campus life, and I've gone back to creative writing as an outlet, because I think most people who are, whether you're a painter or a musician, if you fundamentally have a creative gift, you just want to let it out anyway. But usefully for what my company does, the dialogue helps. Being able to visualize anyone who wants to improve or increase their creativity and expression. The idea of having an empathy where you can visualize what's the person going to say to the bot. What does it need to know and say and do in this environment, in this circumstance, cross-cultural situation, and visualizing, and also empathetically feeling like, this is marketing on a level where I think it has to become more diverse and inclusive rather than just in name only, and rather than just being superficially diverse and inclusive. I think the business world and the private sector have to open up more to people of different thinking skill sets, if you like, or types of thinking, whether it's really creative or more the visual or more the dialogue.
So yes, that. I think there is where technology and humanities intersect in terms of
Absolutely.
creativity.
Yeah, and I was involved in this elite French think tank and incubator called the Camp.fr for France, just over a year ago. I'm still sort of involved with them, and they are proponents of, it's in the south of France. The Camp is really into design thinking. And then I was invited to Berlin to again be a highly paid participant of a think tank for a big German corporation for one day for design thinking of this, theoretical problem. So they really, I think they just need to bring in that diverse set and different backgrounds to solve some pretty urgent problems, because you can't just keep going along pushing smartphones and pushing things that were working for the last decade will not necessarily work for the next decade, because of what we've been talking about with different types of AI coming in, but also more importantly, different needs of different cultures and social groups. Because at the end of the day, if you're causing more unhappiness than creating happiness, I don't think you're going to, survive as a business.
Yes. So it would be like the technology which takes us back to the basics would be more like in use in future.
Yeah, I think it's going to be what another sort of trendy word is values-based and eco-friendly and environmentalism. But again, consumers aren't idiots. They're you and I and millions of people like us. And, we're not going to be fooled all the time if a big company says this is really green tech and it's not, or this is really good for your mental health and it's not. With social media, these things come out in the wash. So there's only so much time before people sort of weigh up and adjudicate and say, you know what, your corporate practices aren't quite right, and there's more damage being done to the world's oceans than we like because of, some causality there. So I think, there's accountability there that's never been seen before. And a lot of that accountability and the data and the evidence coming out to make people and businesses accountable is surfacing because of AI enabled programs and AI enabled data collection under things like GDPR, not bad data collection.
Yes. So I think there were a lot of insights from on the use cases of the bots that you have shared with us, and it was like eye-opening for me as well, like learning about the holographic chatbots, 3D chatbots that are like more of replacing a human in a way that like was not possible earlier. So thanks a lot, Tania, for your time, and it was
You're
a
welcome.
very insightful session for me. And I will share the link of your book in my description, in my this
Thank you.
description. And
Mhm.
just to tell there is a sale going on right now on the Business Expert website. So they are
Mhm.
the ebook is only available for 9.95 US dollars. So
Mhm.
this sale is going on in the like for the whole month of February 2021. So I will also share the link of your book, and you can also purchase my book from Starting Small to Winning Big. That is like also available on Business Expert website. And thanks a lot, Tania, and
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure having you on my channel. And there were a lot of insights that I'm sure that people will love to grab.
Yeah, I'm glad I could help, and I'm looking forward to reading your book over again. I got a lot out of it with the brand identity. Way to go.
Thanks. That would be great. And if you get a chance to read my book, do please leave a review as well.
Yes, I will. Definitely.
No, and I'll try to grab your book as well because it is very interesting, and it will also give you insights on what the technological innovations are going on in the field of chatbots.
Lovely. Fantastic. Well, thanks for your time, Shishir. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks. And before I wind up, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not already subscribed, and
Mhm.
catch up with me on.
We'll all become strategy ninjas with the help of Shishir.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a nice.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.